the top 5 most overrated players currently in the NFL. I'm going to be going through 5 NFL players that are getting way too much hype for no reason. Let me start it off with Aaron Rodgers. Now, for the past 2 to 3 off seasons, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding Aaron Rodgers and where he's going to play. And he finally got traded to the New York Jets after his worst season in many years. Aaron Rodgers last year threw double-digit interceptions for the 3rd time in his entire career, the last time being 2010. His QBR also dropped by 30 from last season, and overall he just had one of his worst seasons last year, missing the playoffs and just did not play like Aaron Rodgers we know. So he finally gets the trade he's been wanting for a while, gets shipped off to the Jets, and now all of a sudden people think he's going to go back to the Aaron Rodgers of 2-3 years ago where he was winning those MVPs. A lot of people are saying he's going to do a lot better because of the supporting cast, but I don't think it's all that much better. You look at his wide receiver 1 in Green Bay, Christian Watson, who led all rookies in touchdowns. You look at his new wide receiver 1, who led all rookie wide receivers in receiving yards. Pretty similar there. Also, in my opinion, the running back did take a downgrade. Even though Breece Hall showed a lot of potential last year, he did get hurt very early on for a knee injury, which can very much affect a running back's career. He lost Aaron Jones and an elite receiving back, and now has to deal with just Breece Hall, who cannot receive nearly as good as Aaron Jones. I can very much see Aaron Rodgers having the worst year of his career this coming up year, as he did decline a lot last year. The next player I'm going to be talking about is cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was traded to the Dolphins this offseason, and for whatever reason people think he's still the same lockdown corner that he was. Now, don't get me wrong, he's still a phenomenal corner, but he's not nearly what he was 2 to 3 years ago. This season, he was 92nd in targets allowed. He was 93rd in receptions allowed. He was 91st in yards allowed. What in that stats screamed an elite corner? And you also got to think he has Xavier Howard as his other corner, who's a pretty good corner. So he's probably going to get a lot more targets, which means there's probably going to be a lot more yards going on Jalen Ramsey. The next player here I'm going to be talking about is Steelers wide receiver George Pickens. George Pickens came off of a solid rookie year, but people are starting to act like this guy is going to emerge as a top 10 receiver this coming up here, and I just don't see it. Let's start off with, it's hard to emerge as a top 10 receiver when you got a quarterback named Kenny Pickett. And also, his stats don't scream a good or great wide receiver. They scream an average wide receiver who's big and gets overhyped because he made a few great catches. Now, I'm going to read you off some advanced stats. He was 95th in target separation versus man coverage. He was 81st in win rate versus man coverage, while being 17th in routes versus man coverage. Next player I'm going to be talking about is Bears quarterback Justin Fields. For whatever reason, Justin Fields gets a lot of hype even though he hasn't done anything in the NFL. And yes, his receivers weren't phenomenal and his own line wasn't phenomenal. But his receivers also were 19th in target separation, which isn't phenomenal, but it's good enough to do the job and to not put up these stats. Let me read you off some of these advanced stats for him. He was 25th in accuracy rating. He was 32nd in true completion percentage. He was 33rd in play action completion percentage. He was 29th in money throws. And he was 23rd in air yards. Justin Fields overall this year and the year before that just was not a very good quarterback, and people think he's going to emerge into a great quarterback. I'm not saying he can't develop, but I don't think he'll ever reach a top 10 form. And in my opinion, the most overrated player in football is Brock Purdy. As you know, the San Francisco 49ers have Brock Purdy, and they also have Trey Lance. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant last year, and Trey Lance, they traded 3 first-round draft picks to select a few years back. Trey Lance has been very injury-prone, so Jimmy Garoppolo stepped in, and then Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, so then Brock Purdy stepped in. Now, if you look at the stats, yes, Brock Purdy played pretty well and won him a lot of games, but he had a phenomenal supporting cast, a phenomenal defense. Brock Purdy had the number 1 defense in football. Obviously, that's going to be a big reason why you win games. And Brock Purdy also played a lot of defenses that were mediocre, subpar. The first time he played a good defense was the Dallas Cowboys, and he put up 19 points. And how can you really already call a guy a future of a franchise when he threw 170 attempts? Obviously, his completion percentage and all of his other stats are going to be inflated because he didn't throw the ball much, so there wasn't that many attempts for him to make mistakes. A lot of people are saying they should give up on Trey Lance and go with Brock Purdy. I do not think that is the right move. I think Trey Lance has a ton of potential. I don't think Brock Purdy will get much better than he is right now. I think a big reason why he performed so well was because of the team around him and why they won so many games and went all the way to the championship. But I just overall think he's overrated, and the hype surrounding him just doesn't make sense to me. But no disrespect to all these guys, I could be wrong. I'm hoping I'm right, obviously. But let me know down in the comments what you think about this list.